Okay. Hello there. Today's Daf Yomi. This is the Daf Yomi being recorded for Shabbos Kodesh. Daf Yomi is Lamed Aleph, and we're going to start on the bottom of Lamed Amud Beis, the bottom of 30b, 6 lines from the bottom. Tan Rabbanan. Rabbi Sotah Darash Rabbi Yossi Aglili V'Shah Shaul Yisrael Min Hayam. And the Jewish people were going up from the sea. Nasnu Eineim Lumar Shira. They put their eyes to sing songs of praise to Hashem. How did they sing songs of praise? There was a baby who was resting there on the knees of his mother. And there was a nursling sucking from his mother. Once they saw the divine presence, the baby lifted up his neck. V'tinok shamadad mipiv, and the baby stopped nursing. V'amru, and they looked and they said Zeh, and they pointed at God. This is Zeh Kili V'amveu. This is my God, and I will glorify Him. Reminding us of the Gemara in Sotah 11b, which told us that the babies were saved in Mitzrayim. Babies were saved in the fields in Egypt by Hashem, and so therefore they recognized Him. As it says, "Mipi olim v'yonkim yasarata oz." From the mouths of the babes and the nurslings, your foundation was strengthened. How do we know that even the fetuses who were in their mother's womb are mushira? How do we know that they even sing praise of God? As it states, "B'makelos barchu elokim, Hashem imakor Yisrael." So as it says in the gatherings, they blessed Hashem from the Makor of Israel, which means from the place of the Makor, even those in the womb blessed Israel. So now we have something in the parentheses, which is not in the original Midrash. So there's a question about whether or not it's included, but we're going to read it anyway because it's just such an unbelievable phrase. It says in the Gemara, how could babies see God? They're inside the womb. How are they able to see? Amarabi Tanchum, Keras Naase Lahen Kaspakaria Hamiira. The belly of their mother became for them like a looking glass. They were able to see through their mother's belly. Became like a glass that they could see through. So the Gemara says, on that day, Darash Rabbi Yoshua ben Hyrcanus shalo avad Eov, that Job served out of love. So, and the Gemara had cited a verse to tell us that Job served out of love. And Rabbi Yoshua ben Hyrcanus had said, because it says, Hein yiktaleni lo ayachel, even if you kill me, will I not yearn? Meaning to say that he was yearning for God also even if he'll die, because he was serving Hashem out of love. But Rabbi Shua ben Hyrcanus wasn't sure. If you go back to the Mishnah on Kavches, if you go back to the Mishnah on Chav Zayin Amud Beis, that Rabbi Shua ben Hyrcanus says, he wasn't sure. Does it mean to say ani mitzape or any mitzape? That he wasn't sure. Was Job saying, I'm waiting for the time, meaning I'm serving out of love? Or was he saying that he's not yearning for God? Unless God will kill him, he wouldn't be yearning for God, which shows that he's learning out of fear. So he wasn't sure until he had the next verse, until I die, I will not remove my death from me, my faith in God. This proves he served God out of love. So the Gemara says, say hi, why don't we look how it's spelled? Hi lo, ibalam and alfksiv, lo, who, and ibalam and vavksiv, lo, who. Why don't we look to see how this verse is written? Is it written that he will not be waiting for God, which means to say that he's not going to yearn for God unless he's killed, and which means to say he's yearning for God only out of fear. Lohu means to say that even if God will kill him, he will yearn for God, which means he's doing it out of love. So why don't we just see how it's spelled? And we know that it's spelled Lamed Aleph. So meaning to say that it seems to be out of fear, not out of love. So the Gemara says, Lohu. Do you think every time it says lo with a Lamed Aleph, it means he will not, that it means no? What about the verse that says, B'kol tzarasam lo tzar, in all their distress, God was not distressed. That means to say that God was not distressed, because it says with an Lamed Aleph, meaning no. Hachinami dulohu, you want to say God was not distressed. If you want to say that, malach panav ushiyim, and it says that the angel of God saved them, which means to say that that it's not like that God was in distress. So that the angel was serving for God saved them. So the word Lamed Aleph could imply both things. It could imply that he was that no, and it could imply to him as well. The word lo, even if it's spelled Lamed Aleph, could mean no. Okay, and it could also mean him. Tanya Rameir Omer Nemar Yireo Kim Be'Iyov. It says he was God-fearing by Job. But Nemar Yireo Kim Ba'Avram, and it says that Abraham was also God-fearing. Ma Yireo Kim had more Ba'Avram Me'ava. Just like when it says that he was God-fearing by Abraham, it means he served God out of love. Av Yireo Kim had more Be'Iyov Me'ava. So too, when it says it by Job, it means out of love. Ba'Avram Gufei Mino. And then how do we know that by Abraham, it means that Abraham served God out of love? Because it says in the verse, Zera Avraham Oavai. This is the seed of Abraham, my beloved. And so therefore, just like Abraham served God out of love, so too did Job. Ma'ika bein osei me'ava osei me'ira. What's the difference between whether you serve God out of love or whether you serve God out of fear? What's the distinction? So the Gemara says, Ika, there is a distinction. All the Tanya Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer Gadol ha'oseh me'ava yoser min ha'oseh me'ira. Greater is the one who serves God out of love more than the one who serves God out of fear. Shazet taloi la'elef dar. One who serves God out of fear, the merit will last for 1,000 generations. V'zet taloi la'alpayim dar. And the one who serves God out of love, it will last for 2,000 generations. Hachaksiv, when it says God, it says God will do kindness la'alafim, which means 2,000 generations for those who love me and those who guard my mitzvos. Lahasam ksiv, and it says in Devarim, Shomer Abris v'Chased lo'avavu v'Shomrei mitzvosav v'Elef dor. So there it says God will only watch you for 1,000 generations. And those are the people who are Shomrei Mitzvosav. So there it's out of fear, it's only you only get 1,000 generations. So Gemara says, but both of them are basically saying the same thing. Oavai Shomrei Mitzvosai. So they're both saying the same thing. So why is one considered to be out of love and one out of fear? So Gemara says, So the Gemara says, well, hi with the samachle, the hi with the samachle. So the Gemara answers, and when it says alpayim dor, it said it's being talked about those who love Hashem because it says la'alafim la'oavai. It says next to the word la'alafim for oavai. With respect to the one who has fear of God, it says shomrei mitzvosav la'elef dor. And so therefore, the 1,000 years is next to Yirei Elokim, those Shomer Mitzvosav, which is fear of Hashem. And that's why fear of Hashem, you have the merit for 1,000 years or 1,000 generations, where those who love God have it for 2,000. Hanu Trei Talmidi, there was once two students, Tava Yasve Kamei de Rava, who were sitting in front of Rava. Chad Amrlei Ikar Yun B'Chalmai. One said, I saw a pasuk in my dream that they read before me this verse. And one said, they read this verse before me in my dream. What was the verse? The verse says, V'yismechu kol chosei bach, v'olam yiranenu v'sasei chalemu v'yaltu v'cha oavei shemecha. Meaning to say, those who are rejoicing before you, those who love your name. And the other verse says, I skipped the first verse. So the first one, one had that he had in his dream. What did it say? How great are your goodness that you left behind for those who fear you. So he had a passage that talks about he was going to be blessed because he had fear of Hashem. The other one said, and so therefore that was out of those who love you. So he said, you're both great. One serves God out of love, and one serves Hashem out of fear. Okay, so now we're up, and now we're up to the 6th chapter, a very, very small chapter. So it says at the beginning of the previous chapter that a woman who was secluded after she was warned, she's prohibited to be with her husband. So our chapter comes to explain what type of witnesses we need to the seclusion or to the adultery to make her prohibited. And on basis of what testimony will the woman lose her ksuva? And when would he have to pay her? When would the husband have to pay her the ksuba if he divorces her? So Misha Kino Isha, somebody who warns his wife, and she violates his warning, Vinistara, and she becomes secluded with the man she was warned against. Even if the husband heard about this, that she was secluded from a flying bird, meaning the walls told him, either, let's say, or even from a slave whose testimony is not really valid. It's like basically a bird. Nevertheless, she's going to be prohibited upon him, and she has to drink the bitter waters in order to prove her clarity. And if he doesn't want to give her the water, that's what Rashi says. And if he doesn't want to give her the water, Yotzi v'yitain ksuva. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer is of the position who says that he would have to divorce her and give her a ksuva, because Rabbi Eliezer says, we learned in Daf Beis and Beis, that for the seclusion you don't require testimony. And even a slave is believed to say it. And if therefore he doesn't want to give her the bitter waters, he has to divorce her and give her ksuva. Rabbi Yeshua Omer Ad sheyisu v'yitnu ba muzaros belovana. So mozros belovana. Rabbi Yeshua says, no, you need 2 witnesses. She's not going to be prohibited unless the people who are discussing it are those women who weave at night by the moonlight. Because since everybody is discussing it, like even amongst the street, everybody knows it, then it's going to be so disgusting that the bitter waters will not check her. And so therefore he needs to divorce her, and he doesn't need to give her the bitter waters to drink. Meaning to say, Rabbi Yeshua says that Rashi says, Klomar, Mishum Stira, then until the women are talking about it on account of the seclusion. Kishe'ein ba'beis edim, when there's not 2 witnesses, eino neser salav. She's not going to be prohibited him. Rabbi Yeshua tamei, the amar mashkal pishnayim. And you can only give her to drink the bitter waters when there are 2 witnesses. Miu kisheyisu v'yitnu mozos bovana. When those women who are weaving at night are talking about the pritzasa mechur, about her disgusting behavior. Mechura davar v'teitzeish. The matter is so disgusting, and she has to leave the marriage. Da'afilu maya sulo batkila. The waters will no longer check her. Like we learned in the first chapter, utahorahi v'lo sheyisu v'yitnu ba mozos b'lovana. And not. So when is she tahora? When they're discussing this about her. So Rabbi Yeshua says you need 2 witnesses, but if you come to the point where everybody's discussing her and everybody knows about it, then the waters will no longer check her anymore. Let's say Amar Eid Echad. So the Gemara now says, let's say one witness says Reisiya shenit meis. Let's say one witness says, I saw that she was. I saw her commit adultery with that man. Lo says she doesn't drink the bitter waters, and she leaves without a ksuva, because The Torah believes this one witness to testify that she was adulterous to deny her the ksuba, because since her husband warned her, nevertheless she became secluded, it seems like there's support for his concerns. Whoa, not only that, this one witness can even be someone who's normally not kosher to testify, a slave or a maid, they're going to be believed. So too Chamosa, her mother-in-law, Bas Chamosa, the daughter of her mother-in-law, Vitzarasa, her co-wife, Viyavimta, the wife of her husband's brother, Ubas Bala, the daughter of her husband. Even though these women, generally speaking, are considered to be adversarial to this woman, Hareo Nemanos, they're going to be believed in this case that she was secluded, even though, generally speaking, they're not believed to testify her. And they're not believed to take away her ksuba because they hate her, Ella Shalotishta, but she's not able to drink the bitter waters, and so therefore he has to divorce her and give her a ksuba. So if her co-wife comes along and says, I saw you with that man, we don't make her drink the bitter waters, but we do force him to divorce her, and ironically, we do give her the ksuba. Shaya Badin, because we could have said by Kavachomer that one witness would not be believed, because we could say Umam Edus Rishona, just like the first testimony that testifies that she was secluded, Shein Osarta Isur Olam, where she's not going to be prohibited and she could drink the bitter waters, just like the initial testimony. They testify that she was secluded and she could drink the bitter waters. We need two witnesses. Edus Achrona, if they testify that she actually committed adultery, which is testimony which is stronger, because she's prohibited forever to her husband. For sure, you might have thought she requires two. Says the verse, that if there's any testimony about her, it's enough to force her to be divorced. So the Gemara says, well, since you're going to learn from this verse that even one witness is believed to testify that she was adulterous, we should make an argument for even the first one that she was secluded. So since we're saying that by the adultery we only need one witness, we should learn from this an argument to the seclusion. We're on top of 31b. Just like a testimony about the adulteress shows Sarta Isur, where she's prohibited and she has no recourse, she can't drink the bitter waters. It's enough to have one witness. The testimony that she was secluded, where she can drink the bitter waters. For sure, one witness should be enough. Tamalomar, no, the verse says, Ki matzaba ervas davar. That the verse says, when he finds in her something wrong and he writes her a divorce. And two witnesses, you have to testify about something. In general, just like by generally monetary matters, you require two witnesses. So too here, with respect to the seclusion, you require two witnesses. Now, the next case in our Mishnah, Eid Omer Nitmeis. One witness comes along after she was warned and says, I saw that she committed adultery when she was secluded. Eid Omer Velo Nitmeis. The other witness says, no, she didn't. Isha Omeris Nitmeis, Isha Omeris Lo Nitmeis. One woman says she committed adultery, one says she didn't. Haisa Sotah. So there, since there's a dispute between the two between two testimonies, we make her drink the bitter waters. Echad Omer Nidmeis, Ushnaim Omer Mo Nidmeis. One woman says, I saw her commit adultery. Two other witnesses say, no, she didn't. We were there with you. Haisa Sotah, she still drinks. Meaning, say, even if there's one person saying, I saw her commit adultery, she has to drink. Shnaim Omer Nidmeis, Eid Echad Omer, Echad Omer Lo Nidmeis. Two say she committed adultery, and one says, no, she didn't. Lo Haisa Sotah. Then she wouldn't drink, because the one person says she didn't drink, she committed adultery, we don't believe her. And so therefore she's for sure committed adultery, and she gets divorced and she loses her ksuba. Gemara is going to discuss what the exact scenario is there. So the Gemara in our Mishnah said that the two witnesses need to testify about the seclusion because we learn now from davar. So the Gemara says this law that you need two witnesses for the seclusion, it's because Talmud Kimata ba'erbas davar, Talmud ba. Is it because of the comparison between the word davar? No, don't we say that the reason why we know you need two witnesses is because it says with respect to witnesses that she committed adultery, it says vehi nitmeis ve'idein ba v'lo bekinoi ba v'lo bestira mibayolei. Means to say that there were no two witnesses there and no two witnesses by the seclusion. By the seclusion you had two witnesses, and by meaning to say you could have learned from the fact that it said ba that specifically by the testimony about the actual adultery, it's enough for one witness. But about the seclusion and the warning, you need two witnesses. Because since the Torah says, the aid ain ba, there you don't need two witnesses. But in the other cases, you did. So the Gemara says, indeed, that is what the Tana is saying. And we have to interpret our Mishnah like it's chisurim extra, right? It's missing certain words. Talmud Omer ba v'lo bekinoi, ba v'lo bestiroi. It says ba and her and not with the warning. Ba v'lo bestira. V'tuma ba'alma v'lo kinoi v'lo stira. And in general, to say she committed adultery without warning, and you don't need warning and you don't need seclusion. V'tuma ba'alma v'lo kinoi v'lo stira. You don't need any warning. You don't need a warning or a seclusion. So how do we know that if there is no warning or there's no seclusion, then in general, to say she committed adultery, we wouldn't believe one witness. We only believe one witness about the adultery if there was warning and seclusion. Because nemar kan davar v'nemar lalon davar. It says about testimony you need two. So too here you need two witnesses. Aid omer nitmeis. If one witness says I saw her commit adultery and one says she didn't, then she has to drink the waters. Time in the kamachashle. What's the reason? Because they're contradicting each other. But if they weren't contradicting each other, and one witness would be believed. So how do we know that one witness would be believed that she committed adultery? The Gemara says the Tana Rabbanan the Eidem Ba, and there's no witness on her. Meaning to say there are no two witnesses testify about her adultery, but there is one witness, and as a result of it, she's prohibited to be with her husband. You're saying that there aren't two witnesses. Maybe it means there's not even one witness. It says you can't have one witness. I know that it's one. What does it say one? In general, whenever it says aid, it requires two unless the Torah specifies. And the Torah is telling us there are not two witnesses, but there is one. And if she was not forced, she's asura. She was forced, she's prohibited, even though there's just one witness. Gemara says, and since biblically speaking, one witness is trusted. The second witness who says that she did not commit adultery, how can he contradict her? We have a general principle that Ula said wherever the Torah believes one witness, it says though it's two. And if that's the case, if this one witness is believed, it's like two. And so therefore the other witness that's arguing against him is only one. One can't contradict the two. It's a little bit of a loophole that their question. We should learn that if there was one witness that says it's not true, she wasn't secluded, after the first witness that said she committed the adultery, then she doesn't drink the bitter waters because that one witness is viewed as two. She doesn't drink the bitter waters because we view her as two. Rabbi Chia said she does drink. So the Gemara says, well, Rabbi Chia kasher de'ula. According to Rabbi Chia, it will be difficult from the Mishnah on the position of Ula. So the Gemara says, well, the question is, when do the two witnesses come? Do the two single witnesses come? If he testifies at the same time, then the first witness was never really upheld. So then they could cancel each other out, and therefore she would drink. But if they came one after the other, then we'll say that the first witness was established already, and then she doesn't drink the bitter waters. So the Gemara challenges Reb Chia's answer. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, Eid Omer Nidmeis, Ushtanim Omer Monidmeis. One witness says she drank, and the other one says she didn't drink, Haisa Sotah. Then she drinks the bitter waters, which implies Hachad V'chad Haisa Sotah, that if it's one against one, she wouldn't drink. So isn't that a tiyufta to Reb Chia? Isn't that a refutation of Reb Chia? The Gemara says, according to your logic, they must say, they have two said she was committing adultery, and one said she didn't. She doesn't drink. Which implies that if it's 1-on-1, so what do we do? And look, so therefore the Gemara comes to our conclusion. What's this whole Gemara talking about? How could it be that if there's one witness who's contradicted by another witness, what are we talking about? And Lakula, the whole mission is talking about Psui Edus, disqualified relatives, like disqualified witnesses, like relatives or women that testified about the Tumah. And our mission is like Rabbi Nechemia. Tanya Rabbi Nechemia Omer, Kol Makom Shamina Torah Eid Echad Holech Acharov Deos. Wherever the Torah believes one witness, everybody is kosher to testify, both kosher and disqualified, and therefore you follow after the majority of opinions. And we view the two women as two men in terms of counting. And so therefore, that's what our Mishnah is saying, that the two witnesses who are disqualified are believed to refute the one witness. And even though biblically speaking, this one witness is viewed as two witnesses, nevertheless, since our Mishnah is teaching them that they're disqualified and one witness is believed like two, therefore we're going to follow the majority here, and therefore we'll follow the two witnesses. Alternatively, anytime where one witness comes to testify, and he testifies, and it was accepted, even 100 women are going to be viewed as one testimony. And so therefore the Torah believes this one witness like two, therefore the testimony of the women is going to be nullified. What are we talking about? We're talking about a case where the woman came first. And so therefore her testimony was accepted. And so therefore if afterwards two witnesses came and they testify against it, her testimony is going to be overshadowed. And Rabbi Nechemia would explain it as follows. We're on top of the base. I'm over. Kol makom shamina Torah eid echad halach rov deos. Vasu shtei nashim ish echad kishrei nashim ish echad. We follow the majority opinion. Aval shtei nashim ish echad kipal gapal gadamim. But two women against one man, that's like 50-50, and therefore they'll cancel each other out. So the Gemara says, "V'tarti b'suli eidos lamoi." Why does the Mishnah need to tell us that this law of disqualified witnesses in two manners, meaning to say that they say where the two witnesses say Mace and one says she didn't commit the sin, and also where one witness says she committed the sin and the others say she didn't. The Gemara says no. We might have thought we only follow the majority to be strict, but not to be lenient. We don't say that. All right, we've just finished the whole 6th chapter. Hadron alachmi Shekina. We'll obviously go over this again on Shabbos and go into it in depth. We're just doing it superficially now. We'll go over it in depth. And then on Sunday morning, I'll try and record Sunday morning's daf, Lama Beis, and Lama Gimel. I'll try and do 32 and 33 so that we can have a little basis. We'll have Sunday and Monday's daf, and then Tuesday's daf, I'll record from Har Sinai, and you could zoom in from Har Sinai, God willing.
Thank you. Shabbat. Good Shabbos.
All right.